Get us going. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. And I see that Sheila has joined us as well. Thank you very much for joining our February YVSC community meeting. I am Michelle Stewart, the Executive Director of Yampa Valley Sustainability Council, and it's such a pleasure to see so many of you joining us today for this very exciting discussion. As many of you know, Yampa Valley Sustainability Council was established in 2009 as a nonprofit, and we are guided by the mission to serve as a resource and catalyst for building a sustainable community in the Yampa Valley region. These monthly community meetings are designed to convene community partners and members so that we can connect, discuss relevant community initiatives, identify common goals and challenges, and find ways to collaborate to create more impactful and farther-reaching programs and practices in our community. For this month's community meeting, we have the pleasure of having Sheila Henderson, Project Manager of the Brown Ranch Project, as our focus speaker. Sheila will be providing us with an overview of the Brown Ranch process, the various focus groups that they have developed to examine different aspects of the project, and inform us, a community of individuals and organizations who value and engage with sustainability in different ways, on how sustainability is being integrated into the process. Following Sheila's overview, we will move into a roundtable discussion where all of you are invited to participate in this community-based project and share your perspectives on what you think the Brown Ranch Project ought to be considering moving forward with respect to sustainability. Here in this meeting, we have organizations and individuals whose work advance sustainability and resilience in various ways, and all comments and perspectives shared during this meeting will be integrated into the process. So please do take this opportunity to participate and be part of the planning process. There are several ways for you to participate in this discussion. We should have about 30 minutes after Sheila's overview for a discussion, roundtable style. I will cue in several community partners at the beginning of the roundtable, and then we'll look to the chat, either raised hands or unmuted microphones for participation. So you are welcome to post your comments and questions into the chat or put a note into the chat that you'd like to say something, and then we will cue you in. You can also email your comments and questions to, I'll put it in the chat, but it's info@brownranchsteamboat.org. So however you'd like to engage, we really encourage you to participate. To ensure that all comments are captured, this meeting is being recorded and the chat will be saved and distributed to the Brown Ranch team and all participants in this meeting. Again, please see this as a conversation and an opportunity to collectively define what sustainable development ought to mean in our community. And always, please remember to keep your microphones on mute when you are not talking. We're still in this virtual age. At this time, it is with pleasure that I will be introducing Sheila Henderson for her overview of the Brown Ranch project and process. Many of you might know Sheila through her previous role as Executive Director of Integrated Community from 2011 to 2019. Sheila first joined Integrated Community in June 2010 as a program coordinator for resource and referral and interpretation. In December 2011, she took on the role of Executive Director during a time when there was talk of dissolving the organization. She was instrumental in helping Integrated Community become its own 501c3 in 2013, a move that paved the way for its financial stability. Sheila was at the helm when Integrated Community found a permanent home as part of a collaboration with Routt County United Way to purchase property on Oak Street that would become the 443 Oak Nonprofit Center that many of us use today. During her tenure, Integrated Community gained recognition from the U.S. Department of Justice to provide legal immigration services to clients in Northwest Colorado. She also pushed to help the organization increase direct services to clients, which allowed Integrated Community to grow its staff from 2 part-time employees to a team of 5 full-time positions, 1 part-time employee, and several dozen professional interpreters. When Sheila left the organization in 2019, the organization and its staff were in a position of strength and capacity. We all know that Integrated Community went on to recruit and hire the exceptional talent we now find in Nellie Navarro, current Executive Director of Integrated Community, who joins this discussion today, along with her colleague, Irene Avitia, Early Childhood Specialist and co-founder of the Yampa Valley Latinx Network. Upon returning to Steamboat, Sheila stepped right back into the community to support the Brown Ranch development process as project manager. Sheila was certainly the right person for this unique convening and leadership role, given her thoughtful, community engaged, and dialogue-based approach to strategic planning and problem solving. As you'll soon hear, the Brown Ranch development process is unlike any other development project of its type, and certainly the first of its scale, with its placement of community at its core. Rarely, for example, would we find a list of a community's hopes and fears on a website designed to keep the community informed of the development process. Here, I'll read off a few of the hopes and one of the fears because they ground our discussion in important ways and underline the opportunities for sustainability ahead. Some hopes that have been voiced for the Brown Ranch include: it will be sustainable in every aspect. It will use innovative solutions for water and clean energy. It will include open space, bike paths, and walking trails. Of significance, one of the fears raised is a call to action for all of us and underlines the value of us coming together for this discussion today. A fear for the Brown Ranch includes: people will think that it is a magic bullet and not just part of the solution. Here we are reminded of the importance of our shared work and the collaboration that is needed to advance sustainability moving forward. Let's take it upon ourselves to have Brown Ranch be a reason to come together to discuss and define what sustainable development ought to mean in the Yampa Valley, and to see this as a starting point in our collaborative work ahead. I'd also like to recognize and thank Jason Peasley, Executive Director at Yampa Valley Housing Authority, the very devoted Yampa Valley Housing Authority staff, their board, and the 20 Brown Ranch Steering Committee members who are also at the helm of this important and timely project. So at this time, Sheila, it is my great pleasure to turn the floor over to you. Welcome.
Wow, thanks. If I ever need a resume in the future, I'm going to call you. That was an amazing introduction. So hello, everyone. I know a lot of people on here, including some of my most favorite people, Irene and Nellie. So that's pretty exciting. So wow, where to start? In August, we all found out that these donors were going to give us $24 million and purchase the Brown Ranch, which is 536 acres on the west end of town. And we knew at that time that this was something that wasn't just going to be another development. It's pretty easy to just hire consultants and sit down with a group, a development team, and create a community or a project. And that's not what we had envisioned. That's not what we were thinking about. And the board was definitely behind this. And so we started this community process, to be honest, that we just make up as we go. We're always teasing that we're about 10 seconds ahead of everybody else. And that's true. But it's going really well and it's working. That being said, we did base it off of a 2016 deep dive into our housing issues in Steamboat, where we had a steering committee and we went out to the community with some focus group work and ended up having 5 acre homes, which was a mill levy that's now producing all the developments you've seen in the last 5 years, like the reserves, which is over by Moe's. The new project, Sunlight Crossing, is coming on in June. And we'll have 90 units. So that's really exciting. And we're also working on, well, we did the Alpenglow by Walgreens. We're working on a project behind McDonald's over by Sundance. And then the same donors purchased 11 acres for us behind the old Staples. And so we've already sent out requests for proposals for that. So the Brown Ranch, while it is something that's out a bit, it's in the future, we probably won't have anything out here for 4 to 5 years as far as housing for people to purchase. We're still building a new project every year between now and then. So that's really important for folks to know. So getting back to the Brown Ranch, right? What an amazing opportunity. I have to tell you guys, I was in a remote area of Panama recently, and some people from Colorado were there and they're like, oh, you're from Steamboat? And I was like, yeah, I'm from Steamboat. And they said, oh, what's with that Brown Ranch? And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you guys know about the Brown Ranch? They're like, yeah, everybody wishes for somebody to buy us a Brown Ranch. So it was pretty funny and a great conversation. So anyway, back to the steering committee. We asked for folks to apply from our community. We had almost 100 applications. Originally, we thought we were going to pick 13 people. We were able to narrow it down to 20. It's an amazing group of folks from around here. It's a very diverse group. Some people have a lot of experience in the work that we're doing, and a lot of people just have really great life experiences in Steamboat that they're bringing to the table. And so this group has come up with our vision and our guiding principles and priorities. I just want to share a couple of them with you. So the vision of the Brown Ranch is that residents will live and connect in a vibrant, resilient, diverse, and welcoming neighborhood that provides a wide variety of housing options and services designed by and for the Yampa Valley community. Our first guiding principle, and these are prioritized for a reason. If we get down to some pretty intense decision-making or conflicting opinions, the prioritization of these will make a big difference. So the first one, the Brown Ranch will provide affordable and attainable housing options for Routt County workforce in a timely and efficient manner that meets both the urgent and the long-term need. Everybody wants to know if there's going to be a house out there for them, if we're going to have short-term rentals. Michelle kind of focused on some of the fears. And so I can tell you right now, the Brown Ranch is going to be for workforce or folks that have been in the workforce here and retired. Okay, just like our Fish Creek Trailer Park. So if you've got friends or family that are getting ready to retire, tell them to go ahead. It's not going to get in the way of whether or not they can move into the Brown Ranch in a few years. Okay, so anyway, this group put together those guiding principles and points, and I'll come back to a couple of those here in a bit. But so they're really determining, the steering committee, they're amazing, and they're going to really determine what happens out there. And we're super excited because they are out in the community doing all sorts of outreach. They're leading our focus teams, and our focus teams are diving deep into the needs of the community. And last night we had our second sustainability meeting, which went really well. Michelle was a part of that, and maybe a couple others of you on here. It was a really nice, vibrant discussion, and everybody just needs to know that we are documenting and collecting all opinions that come out of all these meetings, and they do make a difference. And the perfect example is when we did our presentation on the 27th, at that very first meeting, we had a lot of people in the audience asking for a grocery store. So the consultants went into the back room and spent the next couple of hours figuring out what we need to make a grocery store work. And the bottom line is the fact that there isn't enough demand yet to attract a major grocery store. And so what does that look like? In phase one, there's a certain number of units we need to build so that we can make sure that that grocery store is on site at the beginning with those houses. So the opinion of this community does matter, and it will drive the process. That being said, the consultants and us, we're all still trying to wrap our head about how this is going to work. And so bear with us as we move through this focus team process. Sometimes the meetings are a little light, but we're kind of getting a handle on them. And I think that they're going to be moving forward really well here over the next 2 months. At the end of March, we'll have some answers or some rough draft decisions. We'll be bringing the community back together and asking for your input and what's most important to you. So that piece is pretty exciting. Does anybody have any questions so far? Sometimes I feel like I just spew out information and I'm not sure if you guys are like double tasking, or I feel like it.
No one's double tasking. Everyone's here, all listening ears. It's just very good, clear explanation.
Okay. So our second guiding principle is the Brown Ranch will provide quality housing that is sustainable, yet flexible, modern, efficient, safe, healthy, environmentally responsible, and in harmony with existing natural systems. So that's where your group really comes into play, obviously. And a lot of amazing discussions occurred last night and things that I had never thought of. And we actually had some 20-some-year-old folks, which is unusual, come to the meeting and provide input. So that was pretty fun. One of the things we know is that we need to really look at how we build these properties so that they're efficient for the sustainability factor. I think that's probably going to be foremost in our priorities. And then we'll start looking at other aspects. You know, there's a lot of open space pieces and parts going on in the urban design group. And as we move through this process, we're going to be combining groups and bringing key points to them from each group. So if there's questions from sustainability, how does that roll with infrastructure, right? Is it going to be all electric? Megan's on here. She's on the steering committee too. So that's a really big discussion in the group. What are we doing with water and things of that sort? And then urban design, we'll put all the pieces and parts together. Those are the three groups that have started. Urban design has their first meeting tonight. Next week, we'll start with the project economics and long-term stewardship. That really gets into how are we going to keep this affordable in perpetuity. Really hard to do. We've had a lot of issues around here with deed restrictions. Also, how do we do some sort of equity building for folks with some granting opportunities so that people can build wealth and they're not kept stagnant in this process? They get a nice affordable house, but how can they build some equity so they can move up and keep that mobility going? We know from our consultants that we've got this entry-level freeze going on. The numbers that we're showing the need for entry-level aren't right, and we all know that. Unfortunately, Dana Shoei, who's doing that, is from Steamboat, and so she knows the community and can kind of feel her way through this along with the numbers. How do we work out of that? We know that we've got a lot of people that are in entry-level homes that they own, and they can't buy a move it up house. So then how do you fill that entry level? So we're really diving deep and trying to figure out what this looks like. Along with that, we're working on the project economics with that stewardship piece too. If you're interested in that, funding, right? How are we going to fund all this, and what kind of funds are out there? We know that we've got some really good access to infrastructure funds to start, and some work with the Sustainability Council on some funding for those sustainability pieces. We hope that we'll be able to capture some of that and reach some of our goals for that sustainability and health piece. We've also brought in a group to help us with health equity, and the health equity is interesting and evolving constantly also. I think I'm only like half a second ahead with that group. We're learning a lot, but we're going to dive deep into like, what are our shortages for staff right now or employees in Routt County, and what does that look like? They've got access to government databases, so we can really look at how things have transitioned over the last few years, and that crisis piece that's going on around here that I think we're all feeling in some way or another. So that's pretty exciting. And if you want to go to the website, you can find all these focus teams, except for health equity. That's a little different. And that's going to be bringing in key players like Integrated Community, Northwest Colorado Health, UC Health, the health partnership and stuff as we dive into that. And each of these focus teams will support those decisions there. But the 5 focus teams you can join are the sustainability, that's natural and built sustainability, urban design, housing and non-residential demand. We know we need a daycare out there, or maybe 6. And then we've got our infrastructure and our project economics. If you go to the website, you can find when all those meetings are. And there's a Zoom link too, if you don't want to attend in person. So that's been pretty exciting. I'm interested to see what happens Monday with the demand group. We have about 150 people in town that have already sent us their emails. They're interested in that area. It's going to be the biggest area. Don't tell Lorraine's boyfriend because he's leading it. And he's probably going to get really nervous, but I think that one's going to have a lot of people, and it's because it affects folks the most, right? Can I live out there? What are going to be the price points? What's it look like? Can I have a house, or am I going to be in a townhome? And we know right now, something I can share with you that we know right now is that we are missing 1,300 homes in this community as of this moment. And when we figure that out, we imagine 2.5 people per household. So that's a pretty large number. We're up in the 3,000s, mid 3,000s there of people that don't have a decent home. And then we're also going to track density, right? Low income homes have a lot of density, a lot of crisis things happening because of that, which is a big strain on our human service community. And so how can we see if the Brown Ranch is relieving that pressure? Any questions yet, or any areas you want to know more about?
Particular to this group, you could talk a little bit about the natural and built sustainability, like what is within that scope. That could be of use. But I think one of the things that's really come out in these conversations is how it spans so many of the different sectors as well, but maybe capture some of that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of discussion around how much pavement do we need for automobiles, because that's shifting a lot and creates these heat areas, right? There's a lot of talk, and we've got a consultant coming on to help with fire after what happened on the Front Range recently, because we are in grasslands out here. A lot of discussion about habitat, and we know we have some sharp grouse that come through and are nesting here, and so what does that look like? We've also had some people ask about the youths and what can we do to kind of honor their time frame here and things of that nature. So we're looking into everything. There isn't a subject right now that's off the table. So if you have any ideas, and even if you think they're extreme or you're the only person that's thinking that, don't worry about it. We want to look at everything. We're looking at a lot of walkability and bikeability. And I don't know about you guys, but last summer I was like, oh my God, did we just like build thousands of e-bikes? Like everybody was on an e-bike last summer, which was awesome. And so how is that going to fit into this? We're also expanding the core trail over and underneath the highway. There's an underpass project on the books right now so that people can get to the Brown Ranch and then over to the other neighborhoods, right, by a path. So that'll be great for kids and accessing services over by like Ace Hardware in that area. What else? So sustainability is not my strength, I'll be honest. I'm learning as we go in these meetings, and it's been really exciting and fun. There's the electric versus gas piece. The built sustainability, I get a lot better. And so we're looking at efficiency and materials. The one thing we know is that technology, and especially in the field that you guys are interested in, is changing dramatically constantly. So we want to build a lot of flexibility into it, because something we decide by the end of the year might be a little antiquated or maybe not as good as we thought when we get to 3 or 4 years from now and start building something. So we know and recognize that we want to be super adaptable to any changes. And how does that look? Water plays into that. Water is not as bad as everybody in town likes to think. We're actually good. We actually know that we have enough water for 800 units right now if we wanted, without expanding anything. So that's the good news, because that's what we need to put a grocery store in with, and that's preliminary numbers, nothing set in stone yet, but that's the conversation right now. And then just like, what does the landscaping look like, and how are we going to do the open spaces and parks here? So a lot of talk of natural, obviously natural plant life, and somebody was recognizing last night, we really don't have any trees out here except for around this house. I'm in the old animal house right now out at the Brown Ranch, and pretty much the only trees here are the ones that were put in by the family that lived here in the 70s and 80s. So this is a grasslands area. We want to honor that. We're going to keep the old barn. That's a beautiful barn next to the house for anyone that's been out here. And that'll flow into that Slate Creek area. And as you go down towards Highway 40, we've got ponds and things. And so that's going to probably be open space. I can tell you behind the house on the hill here that has a 360-degree view of the property, and everybody wants a house there. Well, guess what? Nobody gets a house there because everybody gets to use it. So we already know that that's going to be some sort of park or open space area. Right now it's a junkyard. I think we're going to hold on to a lot of that and maybe call it Junkyard Park, or we'll see what happens. But primary sites are not going to go to the more expensive homes. And we are looking at selling some lots and doing some market rate stuff. We want a diversity of income here. And as everybody knows, we're missing housing for everyone. Folks that are in the medical field, we know that we're missing over 100 medical professionals right now. And like Steamboat Medical Group is missing some doctors. They've been recruiting for several years. And as soon as the doctor realizes what the housing costs here, they bail and they don't come. So that's starting to get at a crucial point there.
I see that Scott Kalman, you have your hand up.
Well, thanks, Michelle. This is Scott Kalman. I'm the Director of Environmental Health for Rock County. I love what I'm hearing, and I was super glad to hear that Sustainability Council was involved because they have a very capable staff that I think that can really help with this planning process. And I've also had the opportunity to, make some comments and provide some input, and certainly willing to help and add additional input and help in any way that I can. One of the things that I did comment on, and it was really building on what Wynn had shared, excuse me, about a recycle facility. And it made me think about, not only do we have a big opportunity with developing this community, but we also have an opportunity of enhancing the surrounding community by connecting trails and by, perhaps having a recycle facility that community members from Steamboat and surrounding areas can use as well. And we're doing a feasibility study for a drop-off site. So we'll have some good information about what that looks like and costs and size and so forth. And I know that you've got to balance a ton of, different input and, desires, and you got to balance that with costs. And but another thing that I was talking to our building department director about, Todd Carr, was an opportunity to incorporate construction, demolition, and construction waste as things are being built, rather than taking everything to the landfill. And so this aligns really well with core services and environmental health, protection of air and water resources, waste diversion. So anyway, it's exciting, and hopefully we can, look at some of these types of facilities and activities and include that in the planning process. So I appreciate your work. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for that question, Scott. And so Sheila, we're coming up, I was thinking at like 30 minutes remaining, we could transition to questions and comments, because I don't know that the Brown Ranch process has been able to engage really the group that's coming together with this meeting. So before, and I have kind of a list of individuals who have said that they'd have some comments and questions. So before I transition over to that, something that would be great to hear you talk about is, all of us in our work, we engage with the community. We think really carefully about how we can integrate community values and interests, knowledges into the process. And just to hear you, since that's really been kind of your charge and your call to action with leading this whole process, is what has been most illuminating to you as you've engaged with the community with respect to this Brown Ranch planning process?
Most illuminating.
Yeah, like, just what's been so striking to you about it, because it's a really, it's an issue that has sparked a lot of reaction, as we've seen in the paper and with the hopes and fears. But it would be great to hear from you, and then we can transition, and then I think you'll enjoy hearing the perspectives on the call.
Nice. And I've got my pencil ready, so we'll be bringing this into our compilation. I think, to be honest, the very first thing I heard, and I've heard this a lot, that has surprised me, is I've had the most negative that anybody's been is they want to know why the donors want to be anonymous, and they think they have an agenda. And that surprised me, because usually when somebody gives you $24 million, you just kind of go, thank you, right? And the Housing Authority owns it. And so there is no agenda. And the Housing Authority has 100% control over every decision being made. So that is really important for people to know. I think I've also been surprised by the lack of negativity. There's the group that went against it and completely denied it in 2007. And, that was a little different because the economy had crashed, and I think people in town were worried about their property values. But we really so far haven't heard anyone that's trying to go against us in any way, or, people have concerns, of course, and they're all very valid. The concerns we're hearing are traffic, water, and that's about it, to be honest, are those two pieces. And I think we can put people's mind at ease, and CDOT's working with us and such. I'm not surprised by the hope. really. There's so much hope in this, and people are really excited and really thankful. And yeah, I wish I had some like enlightening something for you, but I don't.
It is all enlightening. And I think, something that struck with me early on as a conversation with you is you said, if it's not absolutely remarkable, we'll not have done our job. And I think that really is such a wonderful way to approach this. So with that, I think maybe I'll transition over to queuing people in. Again, I don't think that you've had the chance to engage with individuals on this particular meeting. Scott, thank you for leading us off with your great questions and comments. I saw that Lorraine Martin, so Executive Director with Routt County Riders, I saw that your hand went up. So Lorraine, if you'd like to lead us off. And again, everyone that's attending, and really, I kind of sent out that general question of how, given your kind of who you work with, who you represent, how you engage in the community, what do you see as important principles or practices that Brown Ranch ought to be taking into consideration as we think about sustainability? So Lorraine Martin, and then I see Sasha, your hand is up, and I'll have you come in next.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here, Sheila. I'm the Executive Director of Routt County Riders here in town. I think a lot of folks probably have the impression that we mostly do trails and mountain bike advocacy. And while that may be the case percentage-wise, we were also established back in the 90s as just, an org that advocates for all riders back when we started as a club. And that has started to take the form of a lot more multimodal and kind of green transportation advocacy. I think the whole thing happening with, and I'm just going to refer broadly to like West Steamboat, because, even outside of the Brown Ranch, we've been having members who are pushing for a lot more core trail expansion advocacy from our end recently. And I think that's just because populations are growing out that way. There's been some difficulties and challenges sort of negotiating that recently. I think, you can see a lot of things as both an opportunity and a challenge. And one of those things is just that there are so many different kind of planning and strategic, processes going on with the Routt County Master Plan, the Brown Ranch focus groups, and various other ways that people can kind of weigh in and give their opinion. And I'm getting the impression that right now there are so many of those opportunities that it's tough for people to choose where and when they lend their voice. So we're kind of trying to help at least like get that information out about how and when that can be most effective. When it comes to green transportation out to Brown Ranch, we're already in a place where we're having this complex discussion with the city and the county and Brown Ranch about, I'm going to call it core trail expansion, even though there's definitely some debate about whether eventually a transportation corridor on a path like that should theoretically be diverted, through subdivisions, or if those eventually will be spurs off of something that can transport people that is closer to essentially like the river or Highway 40 corridor that would then be, have the goal of getting people out to Hayden or beyond. So, that's really exciting and fun. We're trying to find ways to weigh in where we can on all that stuff. And then, just broadly, I think when it comes to Brown Ranch and we're talking about parks and amenities. And I just think keeping in mind your multimodal commuter, so an e-biker or a traditional cyclist, in the smallest of ways. So even when you're plotting out, how parking lots are going to look or how people are going to get from point A to point B, just keeping those bikes in mind. And sometimes it can be as simple as, ensuring that there are plenty of, permanent bike racks in the places where they need to be put and things like that. People are not just using their cars anymore. We're even engaging in discussions as detailed as like which department at the city and county is responsible for plowing this core trail, which we've traditionally looked at as a recreational asset. And now that we're shifting more towards that being an actual transportation corridor, there is kind of just that slight disconnect that we need to kind of reconnect. So that was a lot of rambling, and that wasn't even a question, but thanks for letting me say hello and participate today. It's good to see everyone.
Those are great comments. Thank you, Lorraine. Next, Sasha Nelson, who is the Executive Director for Education, Workforce, and Economic Development at Colorado Northwest Community College. So Sasha, I'm sorry if I botched the title. You can clarify it. I apologize for that, but Sasha Nelson joining us, a great convener from Moffat County. So welcome, Sasha.
Thank you. So, hi, everyone. It took me about 4 months to get that link title rattled off the tongue, so don't worry about it. Sheila, first of all, thank you very much. It's nice to e-meet you. We've been corresponding via email. Sheila, JC Norling, Yampa Valley Sustainability Council, a number of other folks are supporting a new effort that is state-based in nature for 3 economic regions going after a good jobs grant. Our ask is now over $2 million in total, with a lot of people getting a lot of pieces of that. In order to support upskilling, reskilling, and next skilling for the jobs that we are creating in this space to support energy solutions that are more sustainable and that are, some of them are really in their very infancy. So we're working really fast as educators to learn what kind of support and training programs our specialists need to do everything from the green housing projects and sustainable housing projects you're talking about through to servicing EVs as we see more and more of them come into our communities and everything in between. So Sheila has offered a letter of support. So same with Colorado Mountain College and Yampa Valley Sustainability Council. That grant is being filed today. So cross fingers, wish us luck. We'll report back if we're successful. Thanks, JC. And then, so Sheila, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is with regard to the idea of electrification versus natural gas. Another hat I wear is board member of Yampa Valley Electric Association. And in combination, both of those jobs have gifted me to be at the table at a number of state, national, and global conversations about sustainability. Work I've done previous to this job also did a lot of work in natural gas and kind of environmental impacts and sustainability of that. And I'm feeling queasy every time natural gas comes up because I think it's going to be the next fossil fuel based source in a big bullseye in terms of our global effort to address climate impacts. And I'm very concerned of any project right now that is in Colorado in particular that's talking about utilization of natural gas. So I'm curious from your lens what you're hearing, what we might be able to do to help connect you with folks that are having those conversations.
Okay, so that's the infrastructure along with sustainability, right? Those two are connecting. So far I'm hearing a lot of positives for not having natural gas, if that makes you feel better. And we've got some Yampa Valley Electric folks on the steering committee, like Megan, and in these meetings, they're very much involved in the focus team groups. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to come out of it, but I know our technical consultants are looking at that closely, and we should have more information. I can't really say either way, right? Because I have no idea. But we have a lot of great people in place that I think support your viewpoint on that. And so I'd be really surprised if it went in the direction that you don't want. But that being said, I have no idea.
To be clear too, you have to choose the direction that's best for, all of you. I just am carrying the message to everybody who will listen to pay attention to those global and federal as well as state conversations with regard to natural gas. Long-term may not be the best choice, but I'll leave it at that. Sheila, I also want to just say on a personal note, I'm so excited about Brown Ranch and all of the principles upon which it's built. This comes from a woman who was born in the old Steamboat Hospital, lived in Fish Creek Park for my first 4 or 5 years, and then West Acres. And believe it or not, both of those places got too expensive for our growing family, which forced us into Craig. I still feel very connected to Steamboat, and sometimes even have been known to call myself a Steamboat girl. So I really think that this is amazing that you're creating something that in my lifetime, I never thought I would see, where people from all walks of life and backgrounds will have an opportunity for homes and in a community that, you know, as in your words, should be amazing. So thank you for that. Let us know how we can partner and help you, support you.
Great, thanks, Sasha. And just so you guys know, when we talk about the Brown Ranch, you know, people in Craig and other areas will have access if they're working in Routt County. This is all about Routt County workforce, not where you live currently.
Great. That's a great point. Next, we have Megan Moore Kemp. So kind of following on potentially electrification, who is the Energy Solutions Manager with Yampa Valley Electric Association.
Hi, everyone. Great to see you. I also am on the Brown Ranch Steering Committee and am participating in the Natural and Built Sustainability Focus Group, which, because I'm a communicator, I'll say it again because you need to hear it 7 times. There will be a focus group, which I would encourage everyone on this call specifically to attend next Tuesday, February 15th from 5 to 7 at the Community Center. Would love to see some of you there. Michelle asked me to address Yampa Valley Electric's role in Brown Ranch. And as Sheila had said, we are on multiple focus groups, including our VP of Operations is on the infrastructure focus group. And we're just really looking forward to partnering with the Housing Authority to meet their goals, which that's the work they're doing right now, is figuring out what those goals are going to be based on what the community is asking for. We're looking forward to bringing the benefits of our grid to this project. With respect to sustainability, with respect to transportation, it looks like the grid's going to play a role in transportation moving forward. With respect to resiliency, with respect to wildfire mitigation and reliability, and also then ultimately affordability. So thank you for giving us the chance to speak today.
Thank you so much, Megan. Appreciate it. And next, kind of following along with the partnerships that were mentioned from Sasha, JC Norling, who is the campus VP with Colorado Mountain College Steamboat Campus. Welcome, JC.
Hey, thanks, Michelle. Thanks, everybody. So I was late because I was on the housing meeting that Kara Stoller and the Chamber has been hosting. So Rob Perlman from the resort, Tom Leeson, Lala from the Yampa Valley Housing Authority spoke about Brown Ranch in detail. So I'm getting like the second play of this, and I'm learning a lot and surfing the internet at the same time to kind of see what's going on with that new website. So that looks great. You know, housing is just such an issue. And I think a lot of the comments that have been made here were comments made in the prior meeting. So I think community leaders are asking the right questions, and it's really about collaboration and the partnership. And I think being thoughtful up front before hitting the ground and doing as part of the planning process. So, you know, the college wants to be at the table in terms of any time of education, collaboration on grants, anything like that. We want to be there. And diversity, equity, inclusivity is an important thing for the college. And I think some of those themes are coming out today in the discussion. So, you know, we want to be there and do our part. We do have a housing project of our own. I don't know if everyone is aware of that. And so we're looking at breaking ground this summer. Just over, I guess it would be this shoulder down here is our lower Bristol lot. That's the only flat place on campus. So we'll be looking at a 40-bed unit, kind of mix of 2 bedrooms and studios for students. That will start this summer, and hopefully it's an aggressive schedule, but by summer 23 should be completed and students moving in fall 23. So everyone's trying to do their part. I mean, I think the Brown Ranch is just, it can't get done fast enough. And then at the same time, you want to move quickly, but you don't want to race at things and make bad decisions. So I think all the community involvement's great. People need to be heard. And so I appreciate everything you're doing, Sheila, with that and others. So Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, JC. And next we have Irene Avitia with Integrated Community, as well as Nellie Navarro, who is going to be, they will be sharing some great points. And I just want to say that we have really been enjoying building a partnership, all of us, thinking about how we can integrate integrated community and sustainability. And so thank you so much and welcome, Irene.
Thank you so much, everyone. I wear different hats in the community. I am a co-chair for Latinx Alliance, and it's just a group of Latinx leaders that we want to empower ourselves and be at decision-making tables. So this is new for me. But we've been doing outreach with the Latinx community in regards to Brown Ranch, providing the information in their native language. And something about that we've heard is definitely transportation, trails, public transportation. It's a huge thing. Extending the public transportation down to Brown Ranch and even to Sleeping Giant School has always been a conversation, because parents don't have, might not have access to a vehicle themselves, or might have only a vehicle in the household. Also, trails is very important. A lot of our community uses trails as a way of commute to work, and it's very important. Something that came up, and it was very interesting. I know the Yampa Valley Housing Authority properties already have community gardens, but not a lot of Latinx folks know how to use it, and how that piece of education of community gardens. Also, a community compost bin. I hope I said that right, but that has been brought up as well. And education among recycling, like how to recycle. What is the process? What do you have to do? And so I think those have been one of the conversations we've heard from our community. I grew up in Mexico, so definitely it's a different, a different system and a different, everything is new, even though I've been here forever. So it's a time for education, I think, just to get the people on the same page. Because we all come from different backgrounds. Thank you so much. Sorry, I speak too fast.
No, Irene, those are wonderful points. Thank you so much for those great comments and recommendations. Nellie, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Sheila. It's so nice to, continue building on this partnership that we not only have with Sheila from she's such a great ally. And she's always a voice for the immigrant community and a lot of the work that the integrated community does. And as you said, Michelle, just, continue growing our partnership. But I know when we heard about Sheila kind of being the project manager, we were just really proud because we know that she puts community in the center. And with that, I think Irene cuts herself short because of the Latinx Alliance and integrated community. We have been already doing these focus groups, and we have had so much feedback. We were able to do these groups in Spanish, and I think community members felt really safe because they knew a lot of the people that were leading those focus groups. So that was really our intention. What are we lacking? What are the gaps? How do we get there? And I think to Irene's point, a lot of the same things that she mentioned, transportation, really learning about sustainability. Sustainability is kind of a new term for a lot of immigrants, not because we don't do anything related to sustainability, because I remember me growing up in Peru, we did all these efforts like bring a bag. We never, we always have to bring our own bags and bring your bottle if you wanted to buy soda. So we have the knowledge. Sometimes it just becomes such a hard and difficult word to understand. So I think to what Irene was saying, just starting with education, oftentimes it's like immigrants or people that speak a different language don't know where to find the resources. How do we get there? If we have a recycling place, how do we get there? What are the barriers? Like, is anybody going to be there that understand what I'm trying to communicate? What are the days? So I think that communication has to be really clear. Or even to Lorraine's point, when she was talking about expanding the core trail, a lot of the immigrant community members have only one vehicle. So they're already doing a lot to contribute to sustainability. But when we talk about maybe electric car, electric bicycles, sometimes people don't know where to get them or how to start. So just making sure that communication is really clear and we're involving everyone that contributes to the Yampa Valley would be I think priority for us. It's just oftentimes immigrants are the last to know about things that are being done. So I'm really proud right now that we are working so close with the Brown Ranch project to be able to have everybody that works here at the same page and at the same level. So thank you, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for those wonderful comments and recommendations and opportunities to continue to strengthen partnerships. Next up, I have Michelle Meyer, Executive Director with Community Ag Alliance.
One second. Sorry about that. There's actual sunlight coming in, so I need a shade to cover that up. So sorry about that. Thanks so much, Michelle. Sorry for that delay. I was making notes throughout your presentations, Sheila, so thank you so much. It's great to see you. Nice to see your face. So a couple things in terms of the agriculture community and maybe making some connections there. The first would be that I couldn't be more pleased to acknowledge and recognize that Marcia Dakaba is on the steering committee. So there's no one better to carry that message forward. But I do think there's an opportunity to create some connections to the heritage of the ranch, whether that's through signage at parks or throughout the community out there. And then possibly even having some events, as in 3 years or 5 years down the road, offering some farm and ranch tours for residents out there to go visit other working ranches to really experience that connection, a meaningful connection back to that heritage of agriculture. I think that would be a wonderful opportunity and way to kind of create, again, a more meaningful connection. And Ag Alliance is happy to help get involved with that, but I know Marcia, again, can carry that message forward and have probably even better ideas. I do know there's been conversations around natural resource impacts, and Sheila addressed some of them, whether that's water resources and not so much for in-house use, but landscaping and things outdoors. That's always a concern for everyone in our community, and especially the ag community as we continue with this variable climate and the ongoing drought. It's always a concern. Soil health impacts, wildlife impacts, migration of wildlife, all those things. And I'm looking at the folks that are on this call, and I know Clinton Witten knows way more about that than I would, but I think, again, concerns that I've heard from some folks in our ag community and just things to share are all things to maybe keep in mind. And then the last one that I've probably heard the most about is food, right? So I think most of you know that Ag Alliance manages a local food program. We have for the last 6 years. It has grown extensively. We are actually getting ready to look for a new space. We've outgrown the office space that we're in now. And so I think the short answer is yes. Down the road, I think there would be a great opportunity to think about a satellite location for a local food market or whatever goes in out there for grocery to have more of a local food presence. It's a great way for everyone in the community to connect back to agriculture and our heritage of agriculture. And then the last thing I did want to mention was on the community garden. I think a lot of times folks mention that to me and to the Ag Alliance. That's not a program that we've been involved with, just to make sure I'm clear. The Extension Office, Todd Hagenbu, and the Master Gardener program have really been the ones to take in the lead on any community gardens. I think if there's a role for Ag Alliance, we'd be happy to support that. But it's just, we don't want to duplicate any services that are happening out there. So thank you so much, everyone, for all the great work. Super exciting to think about this and think about how it all connects in with our community.
Great. Thank you so much, Michelle. And next we have Lindsay Marlowe, Executive Director with Friends of the Yampa.
Yes, thank you. I have to say I'm pretty excited about this, being a renter myself and in a point where I can't afford to live here, either renting or buying. So I'm looking forward to this project. So I'm Lindsay Marlowe, Friends of the Yampa. I see this as a great opportunity to kind of shift the focus of where people gather on the river. And currently Bear River Park is kind of what I think of as the closest kind of public lands connection to the river and this community. And especially if there is an expansion of the core trail, I see this as the increase in population expanding west of town, that this park being a great public meeting and exposure to the Yampa. I do think that there is a necessity to, just like Michelle said, Meyer, about water use and understanding the impact of growth on the river, but I think that's even a greater opportunity to educate and provide, like for instance, when I see this idea of public paths going through this area, that being a great potential to educate with signage about the Yampa, bringing also that community to the Yampa, guiding them down the core trail, guiding them to Bear River, which it is in our future planning to try to increase more of the river connection there. People do get out at Bear River, but they do not, it's not necessarily a designated access. And that's our goal, is knowing that this westward expansion is growing, that we need to make it so people that don't have a car can easily access the river, but at the same time do it responsibly, because we can't love our rivers and our lands to death. So that's kind of something I'm thinking about for the future, and ensuring that everything's sort of ready for when this community comes around. So.
Great, thank you so much, Lindsay. And next we have Amber Pugales, the Assistant Director of External Relations with Colorado Cattlemen's Agricultural Land Trust. Amber.
Hey everyone. Hi Sheila. I probably haven't seen you since you coached me in hockey in middle school.
That's awesome.
But really, really great to see you in this capacity. I'm so excited for everything that is happening out there. I don't want to take up too much time, but if you are not familiar with the conservation work that we do here in Routt County, and that was also done by the Yampa Valley Land Trust before we got here, feel free to reach out. I know that the primary purpose of Brown Ranch is thriving community with access to trails and all the things that you need in a wonderful neighborhood. But if ever you are trying to expand the area or make more room for ag or recreation surrounding Brown Ranch, CCALT can help in those types of transactions and making those types of acquisitions a little bit more affordable. So we're here, and I would love to catch up at some point, but thanks for everything that you're doing.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Amber. So we have reached the end of my queue of individuals who had comments that they wanted to share. And so we do have a couple of minutes for open comment. I think I saw Jonathan Flint came in. We also have Clinton Witten. So we have some great individuals. And I just want to underline that these community meetings, it's always just such a surge of energy and inspiration to be able to work alongside such incredible individuals. So Sheila, I'm just really glad that we're able to convene this conversation. And again, like Megan was mentioning, if you have time and opportunity to come to the listening, the discussion next Tuesday, 5 to 7 p.m. at the community center, that would be great. So maybe we have time for one question. If anyone wants to raise their hand or clear your throat on unmute, then we can give you the floor. Okay, no burning questions or comments. So Sheila, if you would like to say a few things.
Yeah, I just want to reinforce that nothing has been decided yet, and it's an open slate, and we want to hear everybody's ideas. It's very important to us that we get everything out on the table before we make any decisions. So please come and tell us what you want us to know.
Great.
Amber, I'll be in contact with you.
I thought of one quick question that I was curious about. Is Sleeping Giant prepared to have this many more students in their school?
I don't know the answer to that, but what I can tell you is Jason Peasley, the executive director, and Brad Meeks are chatting. They've got another piece of land out here. And so we're chatting with them about some sort of collaboration, whether it's housing for, teachers, or if they need another site out here for schools. I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen with that, but we are working with them to make sure that their needs are met too, whatever that is.
Great question. Okay, well, that brings us to the top of the hour, and I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join for the conversation. It's such a pleasure to be able to work with you. Keep up your exceptional work. Brown Ranch, again, I think we all see it as an important conversation to join, and importantly, an important starting point for collaborations ahead. So Sheila, thank you for being such a great leader and spokesperson for this important initiative. And everyone, thank you for your participation. And let's all be in touch. So happy Wednesday. Enjoy the week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.